Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wildlife Conversations. I am your host, Jen Ritchie. I want to take a moment to thank Robert's Camera and USEDPHOTOPRO for partnering with the podcast. With one of the largest inventories of new and pre-loved camera gear in the country, they have the gear you need at the prices you want. You can visit robertscamera.com and also find the Roberts exclusive contact and coupon code for Wildlife Conversations listeners in this episode's description. But let's get to the good stuff tonight. My guest tonight is a biologist by training, a naturalist at heart, a photographer by passion. He established a relationship with the natural world at an early age during visits to Yosemite. After his undergraduate degree, he began his career as a field biologist, working on a variety of projects for California state parks, the U.S. Geological Survey, and several private firms. Photography was originally to simply document the critters and habitats he was working with before becoming the focus. His photography has been featured in calendars, magazines, gallery showings, and international competitions, and he leads customized small group and private photography workshops in Yosemite and the surrounding Sierra Nevada. He is the author, photographer of The Nature of Yosemite, A Visual Journey, and the photographer of Yosemite Wildlife, which we will talk about tonight. It is my honor to welcome Rob Hirsch to Wildlife Conversations. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Jen. Thanks. You make me sound really good. But
That's my job. That's my job.
All right.
Well, we have been planning this for quite a while now, and we're here.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. I'm happy to hear. Thanks for having me on. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Yeah, you reached out to me, and we decided this was a good fit, and I was really excited about learning about Yosemite. It's on my bucket list for sure. I've never been. I've only been to California a couple times growing up in the Midwest. We just did not head that way. So, but I'm excited to learn more and talk more about that tonight. But if you want to say hi to Rob, you can in the chat. We already have people saying hi. Hi, Steve. Hi, Gwen. I have a job interview this week. Oh, okay. Okay. So everyone's saying hi already. Hi, Mike. It's so nice of you all to join us tonight. And I think it's going to be a great discussion. But tell me a little bit about how long you've lived in California.
My whole life. Grew up
Your
in
whole life.
California. Yep. Grew up in the LA area. Went to college just south of there in Orange County.
Oh, wow.
And then worked as a biologist out in Joshua Tree and the deserts of California for 10 years or so. And then the last 23 years or so up here in Groveland, right outside of Yosemite.
Yes, yes. Well, you say in your book, you say, my training as a biologist and naturalist enhanced my deep appreciation of fascination for the natural world and all its inhabitants. And I'm most content outdoors, exploring, learning, teaching. I would choose to be here even if I weren't taking photos. I'm not in nature because I'm a photographer. I'm a photographer because I love being in nature. I love that sentiment. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean that last sentence really what makes me tick. I would be out exploring and looking at cool stuff. Regardless of photography, photography is a way to share the experiences with folks and to do good things for conservation and for the natural world. But I'd be out there anyway because I just want to explore and look at cool things and find interesting places and the new thing.
Yeah. Do you have like a early childhood memory that sparked this, or is it just that you live in like the beautiful place?
Yeah, not really. I wish there was some romantic
Yes.
background, but no, as a kid, I was all into sports. I was just a super competitive athlete growing up, had no interest in nature. For full disclosure, I nearly failed my high school photography class. I was just serious all about playing sports. And then went to college. I realized, okay, I'm not good enough to be a professional athlete. So I went out, maybe I'd be go into sports medicine. So I went into college as a biology major and quickly realized pre-med wasn't really my cup of tea either. Was fortunate to find a couple of ecologists at UC Irvine, which is not really known for that kind of work. There's a lot of restoration ecology work. And that was my first interest in it. And then really the big push was after college, I took a 6-month backpacking trip with a friend of mine through Africa.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it was absolutely transformative experience in my life and definitely set me on the trajectory that I've ever been since.
Oh, wow. 6 months in Africa. That's amazing. And did like, what was your camera then? Like, how were you as a photographer then?
Yeah, well, I mean, this will come back to, I think, one of the things you wanted to come back to later, which was kind of where my photography came from, or the impetus for it. And so, yeah, that really was as well the impetus for my photography. My dad lent me his Pentax film camera, or I guess permanent loan, and a couple of Tamron lenses. And we brought 50 rolls of slide film in a lead bag to keep it from getting screwed up by the X-rays, and
Oh, wow.
shot all these amazing places through Africa. I spent 3 weeks in the Okavango Delta, which is one of the most magical places anywhere in the
Yes,
world.
that's what I hear.
And I
Yes.
came back, I was so stoked on the images. I'm like, I've got these great images of Africa. I'm going to use them. And at the same time, Franz Lanting came out with his book on the Okavango Delta. And so I'm looking at, if you know who he is, right? He's
Yes, yes,
also all-time legendary, amazing. And so I'm
yes.
looking at his book, I'm looking at my stuff, and I'm like, I was in the same place. No way. I need to get better at this photography thing. And then the competitive nature of my sports came out, and more
Yeah.
so myself than anything else. I figured I just needed to get better at photography. And so all of my forthcoming jobs as a biologist, I tied photography into um, the birds, the nesting birds, the reptiles and amphibians in the deserts, all of the animals and habitats. And then slowly, I never thought I was going to be a professional photographer, but it just became a big part of what I was doing.
Yeah, it is so interesting how those layers show up later in life when you find the thing. Now that you can look back, you can see like competitive sports drive,
Yeah.
all those things that kind of lead up to who you are now and what you're doing, this love of nature and love of Yosemite. It's so cool to be able to look back and kind of see that.
It's kind of funny because I have a bit of a dual life, like friends from way back then,
Mhm.
just think of me as this jock and have no idea that I actually can
Yes.
photograph. They had helped me like get my portfolio done in high school just to graduate. And then now my friends see me as more of an artist, and I can still knock a soccer ball around or throw a football, and I really love to play sports. So I feel like I have this bit of a dichotomous life, but
I know. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I'm sure that my friends from high school are like, "What? What is she doing?" I'm
right.
like totally educated as a teacher and all that stuff, and like never got to really do arts in high school at all. I was doing the sports thing, the academic thing, how you get on that track and then you don't even know you can do all that stuff. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when like you were in biology for like 10 years and then the camera just became more in the last 20 years, is that kind of how that happened or
Yeah, yeah, for the most part. I mean, I was photographing during all that time, working as a biologist, and
yeah,
just acquiring images, but never with any goal of actually becoming a professional photographer,
yeah,
or that part of my life. And then 22 years ago, we moved up. My wife to be at the time, and I moved
mhm,
up to Groveland, and we started this business, Mountain Sage.
yes.
And I mean, that could be a whole nother topic of conversation. Um, but as part of that, we converted one of the rooms into a gallery. And I'm like, all right, I've got these
Yeah.
images. Let's put them on the wall and see how they do. And I feel like I was really bold because the stuff I put up on the wall back then, I look back now and I'm like, wow, all right, that was pretty brave to put that up. But it got things going,
That's
and
right.
started that ball rolling for me to do a bunch of other things photographic related. It was never like, okay, I'm going to become a professional photographer. It was
Yeah.
kind of a slow transition. Door opened up, kind of stepped through it, and then other
Yeah.
opportunities have surfaced.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to become a professional photographer in terms of money. You got to start cobbling things together and see how that's going to work out. If the money's going to come in.
Well, exactly. Well, that's one of the
Yeah.
fears, right? It's like, oh my God, do I have to depend upon eating on selling photography? That sounds
Right.
terrible.
I
And
know.
that's why
Yeah.
it was never that interesting in me initially. Yeah, as I was, getting into photography, that wasn't the goal. But then as time went on and the opportunity arose, I wasn't like instantly transitioning. Okay, now I need to make all this money in photography. I was
Right.
doing other things at the time, so it was a bit of a transition that maybe made that a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about Mountain Sage because I like it sounds like a dream to me.
It's a pretty cool space. So it's my wife's great grandparents' homestead from the
Yes.
1870s. Her Italian family moved to Groveland. They settled on this piece of property. They were the stalwarts of the whole community, did all these things in town over all that period of time. And then,
Mm.
I'm going to truncate the story, but 20 years ago, we moved up and took it over and converted the space. The old house from 1867 is a gallery of photography and a coffee and tea house. And then outside on the couple of acres of the family property is a plant nursery and gardens and a music venue. We do concerts for
Oh
three to
my
500
goodness.
people during the summers. It's become a real gathering place for our community,
That's what it
as
sounds
well as
like.
people coming out of Yosemite, because we're on one of the corridors right outside Yosemite. Millions of people drive this road every year, and so a lot of folks stop and come in for a cup of coffee, walk out with a photograph or a plant, or
Yeah.
it's just something for everybody to do and hang out. And it's just got amazing history and character that's far beyond us. We were fortunate to be able to tap into it.
Yeah, well, it does. It sounds like a dream. I'm gonna have to visit. That sounds
Got
so
to come
cool.
out.
It's not, yeah, I told you I got to get out there. So I got your book, your first book, The Nature of Yosemite, A Visual Journey. I show everybody. I got that this months ago, and it is so beautiful, Rob. It's so beautiful, and it's teaching me so much about Yosemite since I've never been. It's one of those big bucket list things, like people have that and Yellowstone and all those places on their list. But it's so unique in that you share your experiences, your photographs, and then you have essays from biologists and other friends. Tell us a little bit about that format and how that came about.
Yeah, I had this idea of combining, it's not just my idea, but it's taking these ideas of using really nicer photography with text to help a narrative and drive home
Yeah.
messages. They can work in concert to really make a much more profound, evocative, and informative kind of book. And so I had this idea, and I went to the publisher, Yosemite Conservancy. They're a phenomenal organization I work a lot with, and they were keen on publishing it. And it's a different style of coffee photography book in that there's a lot of text. So although there's a lot of big images in it, there's also essays. There's 13 essays written by friends of mine. The head geologist of the park wrote one on the geology of Yosemite. There's a great essay on the ecology of giant sequoias and leaf litter, like a
I
great
know, I
essay
was
on
gonna say
how
leaf
the
litter.
ecology of leaf litter, right? It's super cool. And the idea was just things that I thought were interesting, like I want to learn about and I want other
Yeah.
people to learn. And so tying in the photography with those essays. Now, to be totally honest, I don't necessarily think that's my best photography of Yosemite. Like I think on my website and other stuff for fine art prints is maybe considerably more compelling visually,
Mm.
but the combination of the imagery and the essays really work to tell the stories. And I'm super
Yeah.
proud of it. It sold over 11,000 copies. The
Oh, that's
publisher
great.
just put another order in for another 3,000 copies to
That's
come out. So
great.
it's been really well received. And the best thing I hear from folks is like, maybe a year or two ago, I got a note from a friend saying that they were reading the stories to their kids at night, the essays to
Oh,
the
that's
kids at night before they went to
wonderful.
bed. And I'm like, that's great.
Best
That's to me,
compliment.
it's the epitome of what I hope the book, would do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it definitely encouraged me to look at places differently than when I go, instead of like we talked a little bit about, the charismatic megafauna, like maybe I do love all the little things too. I really do. Um, but I did start questioning myself as I was reading your book, like, but do I shy away from posting it or like exploring it because of social media or the way it would sell? Or, I started thinking, I'm not sure. If I am really true to what I want to explore. So it inspired me to like keep exploring what I want to explore, and the little things too, which I feel like you're so good at. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But your book that just came out, Wildlife, is so comprehensive. When I got it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not just a book. Like it's
It's a
like
really heavy book.
we
It's
could
like
lift
five and
weights.
a half pounds. I know.
It's like my workout today. But it is such a beautiful book too, Rob. And I was so thankful that you sent it to me. And I feel like I have learned so much about Yosemite, and then also the commonalities between here in Indiana and in the Tetons. Just learned so much about wildlife. But tell me a little bit about how that came about. Your co-author Beth also worked on it, so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, the entire time I've been working in Yosemite, I've
Yes.
been collecting wildlife images with an end goal of doing some kind of book. along those lines. And simultaneously, Beth Pratt, who's a great conservationist, she's really well known in the conservation world and lives just outside of Yosemite and spends a bunch of time there, had really been planning and working on a wildlife book that she'd want to follow up this historic book that was published in the 1920s, the only other Yosemite wildlife book. And then at one point, she wrote actually the pica essay in my book, and that's how we first connected.
Oh, interesting. Yes,
And
I
then
did see that.
through some social media or something like that, she made a comment and she's like, I'm interested in doing this wildlife book, Rob. Do you want to join me and do the photography? Like, sure, let's chat. And so we chatted and were aligned in what we wanted from the book and everything else. And went to the Yosemite Conservancy after looking at other publishers. This is kind of an interesting side note. We could have had it published with other publishers, bigger, maybe, bigger money behind them, but we chose the Yosemite Conservancy because they do such great work in the park, and the money from the book goes back into their programs,
Oh,
scientific
nice.
programs, outreach and conservation programs in Yosemite. So it's a really wonderful cyclical use of resources. And they're a great organization. And
Yeah.
they jumped on, they were super supportive. They put a lot of energy and time, money into the design of the book and the PR and everything. So they were
I
great.
can tell that just from your social media. I can tell that they're really supportive.
Oh, they're fantastic. They're just a wonderful organization.
Yeah.
And then 3 years later, so the book ended up being a lot bigger than we had envisioned. So we started, it took longer than we had thought as well. So really it's pretty much 3 years from the time we signed the contract to finally getting it published. But it's quite the volume. It's exciting. There's, believe it or not, no other Yosemite wildlife book, which seems crazy. Every other national park has a wildlife book.
Oh, interesting. And that's what you said.
Yosemite's known for landscapes, right? It's just because that's what people think of Yosemite. So the wildlife oftentimes gets overlooked, but it's super rich, incredibly diverse, and really needed a book to highlight that. And that's what this is. And Beth's writing is not like any other book. You probably noticed that.
It's very good.
Yeah, it's very narrative. So she's tying in a lot of historical elements. She interviewed loads of biologists, naturalists, Native Americans, and tied all these historical elements with natural history. So it's not a dry read, something's 5.4 centimeters and gray brown, right?
Right. No, and it's also her personal stories and how she's explored the park. And she lays it out very quickly that this is her heart. Like, this is her place. This is her heart, that it has captured her. And I get that from both of you. I told you that before we got on, the labor of love and how much you love Yosemite is just evident. And that's what's kind of nice, to read a book that has this narrative and the personal stories. And so it makes it easier, but it also helps me connect to it, because I'm like, oh, I have places I feel the same way about. I understand what they're saying, like so many people that listen to this podcast, they have places they're in love with and want to protect. And so just like it comes through so strongly. And I love that
I
about it.
appreciate that, because that's really a big part of it. I mean, without a doubt, her passion for the park and my passion for the park and the wildlife and everything there is really on the surface. And for you to notice that it comes through is great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In both books. But I love how it is not just about bears and bobcats and mountain lions. It is about fairy shrimp, beetles. There's
the fairy
dragonflies.
shrimp were photographed right there, actually.
Oh, I was wondering about that, actually.
Right,
I was wondering about that. Yes, because I saw a picture similar to that in the book. And then you move on to reptiles and amphibians and mammals and every little thing, which is so nice. Because I just feel like a lot of those things get ignored. So how important is it to share the whole scope of wildlife for Yosemite?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, you flip through any feed these days and they're dominated by grizzlies and wolves and moose and bison, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's fantastic. Those animals are phenomenal, great experiences to photograph and all that. At the same time, there's a lot of other critters out there that make up ecosystems and are critical to their function. And so it just, for me, it's a no-brainer. Those things need attention. I know it's harder for photographers because it's easier to go somewhere with a grizzly out in the field to photograph. It takes more work maybe to find the more secretive, elusive critters out there. But I do encourage folks to go after that, because not just is it fun and engaging, especially when you do something that's so new and novel and you haven't seen before, it just feels good. But
Yeah.
also, those critters need a voice. Like, I think grizzlies are doing good. Like in terms of photography, like
In
there's a
terms of
lot.
photography, yeah.
I wouldn't even know what my favorite grizzly photography for photographs would be, because there's so many millions of stellar imagery. And not to dissuade anybody from going and photographing that, but just still keep it up in mind. There's so much other things to photograph. And if anybody's really interested in taking photography to the next level, it should really be focusing on things that haven't been photographed as much,
Yeah,
because that's really where the possibilities are.
it is. And I think with your work, Rob, is that you love that spot where no one is. You love to go. It seems like you're that driven by finding the spot, the challenge of it, of finding something that's unusual and finding something that's little or that hasn't been photographed. I mean, I see that in your words, but you can also see it in your work, you know.
Yeah, for sure. When I'm actually photographing, so I do just as much landscape photography as I do wildlife photography. And
Hmm.
generally speaking, I go where people aren't. So in
Yes.
Yosemite, if I see people in a certain area that I like, I'll go somewhere else.
Yes.
Just because for me, it is any photography, wildlife or landscape photography is really like more of a wilderness experience. Like whether
Yeah.
I'm, a quarter mile from the car or way deep in the backcountry, I'm just way more connected to the space and to the natures around me and to finding wildlife when there's not folks around, not even folks I know, but I want to be in their image, or I'm worried about
Right.
them, and I just don't want to have folks around if possible. And so I
Yeah.
definitely, I maybe seem like a bit of a loner, and certainly when I'm out there in the woods, I don't photograph other people very often, only on
Well,
rare
I think
occasions.
many of us are like that. And it's just interesting. Like many of us are wanting to be out in nature, in the quiet, and we have our camera, that's our thing. But this other aspect forces us to be social with it, the social media or having to make a little money so we can do these things.
Yeah.
So it's a tension.
Well, and it's funny because I do have this dichotomous life because I'm so much alone and I want to be alone in the wilderness and photographing. But I'll go put a concert on for 500 people and
Right.
MC it and happy to be in front of people and like this. So it is a bit of a weird,
It is.
weird.
It really is. I know. I was telling people how shy I am, and they're like, "You host a podcast." I'm like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, totally.
it's the same. It's a both and, it's both
Yeah,
and.
yeah.
But tell me a little bit why the photographs are important to you. What's the purpose? Like, why do we need photography with these stories?
I mean, to be really blunt, people wouldn't flip through the book if there weren't photographs in it.
That's true.
I mean, I know
That's
not
true.
to, yeah, no matter how great the writing is and stuff, uh, a lot of folks gravitate towards just flipping through the images. And those are going to be a
Yeah.
contingent of folks of both the books that I have that don't read anything or read a very small portion of it, but
Yeah.
they're going to flip through the images. And
That's
just
true.
that might have some meaning or some connection.
Yeah.
And so there's just no doubt that in the right context, photographs can really help tell and drive a story home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's
So
plenty of just,
go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
I
No,
was just going to say, as you're doing all your education and teaching people, um, you found that like the photographs help connect people to those stories.
I mean, just without a doubt. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, I've done enough slideshows over, 35 years. I'm not sure exactly how long, but a while, that, telling stories with cool images. I mean, people just connect to. I mean,
Yeah.
you just
It's so true. It's
can't
so
even
true.
like question it. It just really has a profound impact on people visually,
Yeah.
especially when you can tie it in with a verbal narrative.
Yeah. Well, your book is divided kind of up in different sections of the park, right? That's how it felt to me.
The
Different,
nature of Yosemite.
yeah, the Yosemite Wildlife. I felt like it was divided kind
So,
of into different kinds of sections of the park.
so yeah, Beth broke it down. So that was her call, like breaking it
Yeah.
down in terms
Yeah.
of habitats and then a few different species.
Yeah.
She just wanted to do something different than the
Yeah.
standard
It was
mammals,
cool. Yeah.
birds.
Well, this one's
Yeah,
called Rock Stars, and then there's a whole chapter on things that you can find on the rock where people are always just looking at the landscape there, and she says like animals really live there, creatures live there. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
was good.
Vertical cliff faces have amazing ecology and rich
Yes.
diversity for sure.
The chapter
And
on bats was so interesting to me. Just when she talks about listening to just the rock crevices and stuff and the sounds that they make and all the different sounds, like they could even sound like birds and things. I thought that was so interesting.
Yep.
But
Yep.
this is this what is this, a Mexican free-tailed bats. This is your image, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I had to
I
look at that at
hope
first. I'm
so.
like, I'm like
Yeah.
looking
But
around.
I'll tell the quick story behind this one because it's
Yes,
kind of good.
please.
Is that why we're bringing this up so I can tell the stories
Yes, go
behind them?
ahead.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So one of the things I really wanted to do for the book was to capture an image of a bat in flight.
Hmm.
And super challenging to do, but I got a tip from park biologists of a roost underneath a bridge just outside of Yosemite. So I went down there, checked it out, and it looked very appealing. That all the bats were coming in and out of a relatively narrow area, so I could focus some attention on that area. And I set up, had all my gear, so I set up a couple strobes, a super fast LiDAR detector to catch
Oh,
fast moving
wow.
animals. And then I set up a lounge chair, reclining lounge chair and a sleeping bag under the bridge nearby. And so all night long, flashes are going off and I'm jumping up to make changes to the settings and then trying to sleep in between cars roaring over the bridge. And morning comes and I look at all the images and nothing good, like nothing usable at all.
Oh,
So
no.
pissed off, I'm disappointed. So I jumped up onto the little piling because I wanted to look at these little buggers, that
Hmm.
eluded me all night long. And so I climbed up there and I had to scooch myself on my back through some back guano. And I finally got a point to look straight up into their roost. And that's what I saw is all these little Mexican free-tailed bats packed in those sandwiches. And I'm like, oh my God, that's great. So I photographed them there, and then I did end up coming back a couple weeks later, and I did get a cool image of a bat in flight that's actually in the book. And on a side note, it's kind of interesting because it's a different species than the Mexican free-tailed bat. So the other one is a canyon myotis,
Hmm. Hmm.
but they're sharing the same roost space.
Oh,
And
interesting.
they huddle together, keep warm,
Yeah.
and then come out at night and catch bugs.
So people are kind of creeped out by bats, Rob. So why
Oh
should they
no, they need
not
to get
be?
over it.
Yeah,
Sorry, they
tell us to
need
get
to get
over it.
over it. Seriously, bats are phenomenal parts of our ecosystem. The numbers, I don't know the data, but the number of mosquitoes that they take out every night is extraordinary.
Mhm.
They're really like a valuable and important part of our ecosystem. All these weird, stories that come out about their
Yes.
things like others really um, uh, overly,
Yes.
just
It's too
a
bad
bit.
how we do villainize certain animals, and it's too bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Villainizing is a perfect word. There's bats have very little to harm humans.
Right, right. I grew up with a pool in the backyard and had them all the time above us at night. And it was like, well, that's good because they're eating mosquitoes and all of the stuff they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. They do more good than harm for sure.
yeah. But it's just like wolves and things like that. They just love to have animals that are certain villains. So,
Yeah.
and these are the Yosemite toads, is that right?
Yeah. There's so
These
many
were
toads.
so interesting. Yes, these are two males, right?
Well, yeah, it's also good. Yeah. So I've been asked a lot, recently my favorite image from the book, or my favorite wildlife image. That's a really hard thing to
Yeah.
say because there's a lot of images I'm happy with, I really like a lot. But this is always at the top or near the top of the list because it's an amazing wildlife experience. Yosemite toads are an endangered species of
Mm.
toad in the park. They occur at high elevation areas, 11,000. This was at near 11,000 feet.
Wow.
And they breed in these shallow pools of water that are only a few inches deep that are fed by melting snow. And so it's a very small window of time that they can breed. And
Mhm.
during that time, the males come out in these little shallow pools and they wrestle. And so these are two males wrestling, not like some people might initially think that a
Mhm.
male and female are getting frisky. They're two males, and their goal is they jump on each other's back and they try to shove the other toad's head down underneath the water. And it was amazing to experience. I'm lying in the mud, 20 feet away, and this crazy chaos is going on all in front of me, and the toads are wrestling and battling. And it was just a wonderful,
Mhm.
wildlife
Mhm.
encounter that wasn't that big
Mhm.
megafauna that we were talking
Right.
about.
Right.
Is the epitome of an amazing wildlife encounter.
Yeah. And I assume that there are indicators of, climate change and things like that if they're so dependent on those shallow waters, and how is that
Yeah.
you're endangered or
So that's not really why there's a
okay.
research going on currently.
Mhm.
in terms of that and whether climate change is affecting them.
Mhm.
I don't know all the current science. They've had other really major challenges that have
I'm
affected their
sure.
populations that wasn't climate change. There's
Because they travel
pictures.
far too, right?
Say that again.
They do travel kind of far sometimes
Yeah.
too, right?
Yep, they move they can move pretty far, and a lot of their ecology is still being worked out.
It's
Um,
interesting.
but they have actually made a pretty good comeback in the
Oh,
park.
that's good. I did see that they were building like special things for them to cross roads and things like that. That's really
Um,
interesting.
I think yeah.
Yeah. And then I was going to move on to a little bit bigger. We'll go to a little bit bigger. This is one of my favorite animals. So the river otters of Yosemite in the waterways. I think that was called Water Worlds, that chapter that Beth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot of otters in Yosemite.
Hmm.
A handful of places that they occur. This
Hmm.
is a pretty cool experience. I was working along a river in Yosemite, just checking stuff out, and I heard a loud splash, just up the river around the corner, and then this wake started flowing my way. And my initial reaction was to jump behind a tree and hide my presence. So I
Yeah.
did that, and then moments later, this otter comes swimming up towards me with a really large fish in its grasp, and hauled out on this log right underneath the water and started just chomping on its tail, like eating away at its tail. And I'm like, why is it eating its tail? It's like the less, not the most nutritious part of the fish.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the fish gives a huge lurch, gets out of the grip of the otter, and is hanging out in the water, and it tries to swim, but it's got no tail for propulsion, right? And the otter
Wow.
looks down at it and casually reaches down and grabs out of the water and says, like, what are you thinking, little fishy? And just takes and munches the rest of it. So it's like this really cool, like something that I had no idea that was a strategy that they would use until I saw it. But it was pretty cool to
It's so
witness.
cool. I
And
never,
it's
I
kind of cool.
never have
It's
seen
a
that happen. So when you wrote that in the book, I was like, oh, that is pretty clever. It's
and it
common
totally makes
sense.
sense, right?
Yeah,
It
it's
totally
common
makes
sense.
sense. And then I looked it up afterwards, and I wasn't the first guy to see that, or first person to see that, right? It's a pretty common thing. I thought,
I
look,
didn't know
new
that,
biology behavior I just found. Yeah, no.
but
The
it
other cool
totally
thing
makes
is it's
sense.
actually a Sacramento sucker, which is a
Hmm.
native fish in
Okay.
Yosemite, which is kind
Oh,
of
that's
cool.
cool. That's
Yeah,
very cool. I know when you listed that in the book, I had never heard of that before.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure there are animals that people really want to see and get a little more attention. I assume bobcats are kind of on people's lists or like would be exciting to see. Then you have a really cool picture of a bobcat here.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of we call them, predators or mesopredators, the medium-sized predators, bobcats and coyotes
Hmm.
and foxes and things like that are always amazing
Right.
to observe and or to
Mhm.
photograph. This was a cool experience where, as a nature photographer, you have to make decisions and choices. And I was walking in the forest of Yosemite, and through a bunch of vegetation, I saw this bobcat, and it was stalking, very obviously keyed into some kind of prey.
Mhm.
And then I was able to see kind of a different direction through the vegetation, what it was after. And there were some squirrels taking a sand or a little dust bath.
Mm.
And then there's like the instinct might be to, okay, if I move my position, I might get a clean view to see this and photograph this action that might be taking place here shortly. But I didn't. I didn't want to disrupt the hunt or to scare the squirrel so the bobcat couldn't get it. So I just stood where I was, and I could still see the bobcat moving through the vegetation, stalking, stalking. All of a sudden, dust cloud, and I hear this screech of a dying squirrel, and that's over. And even at that point, it was like, oh God, should I move to a place I can see this? But
Mhm.
I decided not to. I wanted to stay my ground. I didn't want to affect anything that was going on.
Mhm.
And then as the bobcat walked away, it just came through an opening across the tree and just glanced back at me. It was in a way that it looks like either a thank you or a look. I look what I
Mhm.
caught. You caught me
Mhm.
catching this,
Mhm.
and it
Yes.
was just kind of a cool experience where we have to make ethical decisions as photographers, and to me, that was a really clear, really not easy, but without a doubt the right decision to make.
Yes, yes. For people that are listening and they're not watching the podcast, the bobcat has a squirrel dangling from its mouth with the squirrel's mouth open and looking right around a tree at us. It's very moving. But well, that's what I was going to ask you about, Rob, next is like your approach to photography is, and your ideal situation is that you do not disturb the wildlife at all. You just described that. You just described how you might move through a situation like that. Can you expand on that a little bit? Your ideal situation
Yeah.
out in the field if you see something.
So, I mean, first off, I'd say that the reality is, most of the time animals know we're there. Like rarely are we going to be like unnoticed or not have our presence known.
Yeah.
But then the key is not having a negative impact on the animals, right? My ideal situation, yeah, the animals have no idea I'm present, right? Either I'm
Right.
in a blind or I'm hiding behind trees, or I use a camera trap or things like that.
Yeah.
Whatever their behavior, whatever they're going to be naturally, I'm not affecting that.
Right.
And so that is without a doubt, I think the goal of the wall nature photography would be really nice, because we shouldn't be, if they're worried about us, even if, for instance, like it may not always be really obvious our impact. So for instance, if you're trying to photograph an owl and you're too close, the owl's constantly looking at you, not looking for prey.
Yeah.
And we need to avoid that situation. Find a better position so the owl doesn't know you're there and it
Yeah.
can really key into what it's hunting. And then you'll actually get better images and then also not impact what they need to be doing.
Because you get the natural behavior without them interacting with you at all. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you haven't affected their, conservation of energy and their ability to get food and things like that. Yeah.
exactly.
I know it's so hard in national parks to do that sometimes with the crowds or with animals that are kind of a little bit habituated, things like that.
Yeah, and again, like I'm not talking about these situations in parks with a lot of people. The way I
Yes.
photograph and what I'm doing might be a little different. But that being said, anybody who's listening, this kind of photography can be done in your backyard, can be done in
Yes.
your local state park, can be done on land trust properties or conservation easements, all sorts of places out there that BLM land,
Yeah.
there's natural places out there that can be photographed that aren't the national parks or the big places that have a lot of attention and traffic,
Yeah.
to have less of an impact.
Yeah. We were talking before we got on, and like sometimes in those busy places, like in Yosemite, Yellowstone, the Grand Tetons, Smoky Mountains, like you just have to go find the places that don't have the crowd, and they exist. I know you know that. Because I mean, you can see these images, your landscape images, where you've gone the opposite way of the crowd and gotten these beautiful images and found all the wildlife and stuff. So it is possible. It's something to remember, even if you're just traveling through as a tourist, to remember like the impact that we have.
Yep. Well, and I think part of it is that, people tend to go after what they see, and they see right now so much of the other things we're talking about, the big megafauna in these
Yeah.
places, that's where they gravitate towards. And
Yeah.
that's just kind of
I'm guilty.
human
I'm guilty
impulse.
of it. I love
Um,
moose so much.
Well, but there's also nothing wrong with that. Like if there's a critter, something you really,
Yeah.
you're not passionate, really enjoy photographing, you don't want to do it. But I mean, like you can find some moose aren't just in those places, right? I'm sure
That's
you
right.
can find with the right work or the right contacts, plenty of places to photograph and experience moose behavior without the throngs
Yes.
of people.
And I just saw someone that got porcupine footage the other day, and I'm like, I would be just as excited if I got a porcupine.
Oh, I would go crazy to
I
see a
know, if like you're
porcupine.
all
That
alone
would
with
be
an
unbelievable.
animal, it's just like there's no other feeling like it, to be all alone with an animal. You're not disturbing it, and it's just you and the animal filming or photographing. There's just no feeling like it. It's so special that I mean, I even sit here with my squirrels outside my window, and I'm so excited. Beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, I
beautiful.
could not agree more. Absolutely. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
know you have also, like, you had Beth put a whole chapter of your images too with just miscellaneous animals that are in Yosemite, and there were so many that were familiar to me. But you had the American barn owl in there. It was such a neat image with them peeking out like that. So cool. If you can see, if you're just listening, it's black and white, and there's tree bark, and there's like three little barn owl faces coming out of the hole. It's really neat.
Yeah, so just to backtrack real quick, like on that. So Beth had a list of animals she wanted to cover in the book, right? And so I went after those animals, trying to photograph. I got most of them. We couldn't get all of them, so I pulled in 20 or so images from other folks. And then we always had this idea, like any images that I got that were 5-star images, we were going to include in gallery sections of the book that would
Oh,
just
that's
be
nice.
photocentric. And
Mm-hmm.
so these are barn owls, and these are actually on our property where I live in Groveland, about couple hundred yards in an oak tree from our house.
Oh,
And as a part of the book project, I wanted a way to photograph some of the nocturnal animals that were sensitive in a way without flashes, regular flashes that would
yes.
impact them. And so I bought a used camera body and had it converted to infrared.
Mm-hmm.
And then with infrared filters on flashes, when the flash comes through, it's just a really dull red color. It really doesn't affect animals. And so after I purchased it, I tested it out on this barn owl cavity near us. And one night I had it set up with that LiDAR super fast detector to catch the adult flying in and out
Oh,
with rodents
cool.
when they're really young in the cavity. And then when the young adults, these are 3 fledglings
Oh, they're
that had
so
already
cute.
left the nest, but they would go in during the day every day and then come out at night. And so, I set up there a little ways away in a blind with the infrared flashes and camera. I couldn't see; it was so dark when they come out that I
Yeah.
couldn't see very much. A little bit of movement in there, so I would just fire periodically. And kind of an interesting side note of barn owl behavior that I'm coming to find is it seems to me that a lot of places barn owls are way more diurnal. Like they're active in dawn and dusk. I see people having experience with them. Not around us. They are ultra nocturnal. They don't come out till
Interesting.
way after dark. And so using this infrared technique was really helpful in
That
photographing.
is really cool. And way to problem solve. That is really cool. Well, tell me a little bit about the other technical things you did so that you could capture the animal without disturbing it. I know that you had a whole list of gear in the book, and we don't have to talk about gear talk, but
Yeah, I'm not much of a gear guy. Well, I mean, I like gear that works. I don't like the question, what camera do you use
yeah, yeah,
exactly?
yeah,
That doesn't matter.
yeah,
But without a doubt, technology helped a lot. Like
yeah,
I use a variety of different camera trap setups. So, where I'd find activity or, a place that was a common trail or lion scrapes or things like that. I
yeah.
had a camera trap that used a passive IR, so it's more of a heat detection
Mhm.
trigger with flashes. If it was nocturnal or just during the day, I wouldn't have the flashes. I also used I mentioned it before. It's a super fast LiDAR trigger, so I could photograph insects or super fast birds in flight or the bat image.
Mm-hmm.
I also used so the other camera trap technique was more automatic, right? To be present. But I also sometimes use this, what I call a manual photograph or camera trap technique, where I would set a camera up in a spot where I knew there was a lot of activity or animals would keep coming back to, and I'd go hide in the shrubs nearby.
Yeah,
And so I'd watch what was going on until they got just in the frame right place, and I'd fire it at
yeah,
when the time
yeah.
was right.
Remote shutter. Yeah.
So it's like this low budget camera trap activity.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
and then infrared, I use
Mhm.
that camera and flashes, um, and then all sorts of locomotion. I skied, kayaked,
Oh, I
canoed,
know. I did like seeing
snowshoed.
that. I did like
It's fun
seeing
to get around.
yeah, all the modes of transportation. That was so cool. Yeah. Like, say that again. Say all the things you use for
Oh, I'm
transportation.
not sure. Skis, snowshoes, kayak, canoe, rappel ropes. Um,
Lounge chairs.
Lounge chair, right? I was worried that night underneath the bridge with all the bats that a cop would come by and go,
I
what the
was
heck
thinking
are
that
you
too. I
doing?
think
Like
I'm gonna haul you away.
all that electronic gear below a bridge.
Yeah, yeah. What's this guy doing? Well, I live in a university town, and I have often wondered, like, should I reach out to someone to see if I can help with their research? How do I do that? And I know you really encourage people to partner with biologists and naturalists and nonprofits. Tell us a little bit how you've done that or how we can do that. Any tips you have? I don't know. I'm a little shy to do it and like wondering
Totally.
who I
Yeah.
trust, you know?
Well, they're wondering who to trust too. And
That's
that's what I was going
true.
to get to. So here's the deal. I'll be honest with you. Like photographers don't have a good reputation in the naturalist,
I know.
biologist, even conservation world, in my
Yeah.
experience. And it's because they haven't done a whole lot of good, and it's been more exploitative,
Mm.
and it hasn't been to the benefit of a lot of these those organizations of people have seen to be more of a detriment, and photographers
Yeah.
be more
It's too
impacted.
bad.
So it takes time to develop that trust. And even for me, right, I was a full-on biologist, naturalist. I can talk the talk, I can walk that walk. But for me to gain the trust of the local biologists up here and organizations has taken a bunch of time. And
Yeah.
but it's worth it, because those relationships have certainly, helped me be successful in this world. What I would suggest is finding a particular project or professor or something like that that is interesting,
Yes.
right? And then reaching out to them and saying, hey, I'm an avid photographer. I'm really interested in conservation and helping. I really like what you're doing, and pursue from that angle. And then also offer up, look, anything I photograph, you for
Right.
use for your work,
Right.
for any kinds of outreach or scientific based. And that's one of the way to do it. Also, great organizations are land trusts. I don't know
Mm.
if there's any
There
around
are.
where
Yeah.
you are, but
Yeah.
like,
There are.
I've you can approach a land trust and say, hey, I'm an avid um, amateur or whatever, professional photographer, whatever it is, and I'm interested in helping you guys out, and for access to the land, I'll give you
Right.
images, and we'll start developing those relationships and making it really clear that you're not taking advantage of them and exploiting them.
Right.
And once that's done, they'll see a mutual advantage. And the relationships that I've tried to establish are win-win. Really want it to be they're stoked, they're winning, and
Right.
I'm stoked and winning, and everybody else involved is even
That's
the
right.
book project. Everybody should win, including the reader.
Yeah, and hopefully you're helping photography reputations with them.
It's way
Photographer
beyond me. I'm nobody knows me. My
in
social
your
media
little
following,
spot in
it's minimal.
California.
I'm not, yeah. People know me who know me, but not like I don't have a big
I know. But
megaphone
if we
to go
each did
speak to these
that and we
people.
did it respectfully, maybe we could help this reputation a little bit. You never know. You never know.
Absolutely. No, I think so. It just takes more. I mean, plenty of photographers are doing the right thing and doing great work for sure. I
Yeah.
just see more of them. We need a critical mass of those folks doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you said
It's
there's so much
unheard of.
potential of what we could do, the good we could do.
Massively. There's the numbers of people that have photographer as their tagline on social media and Instagram and Facebook, whatever it is. It blows my mind how many people have that
Mhm.
viewership and those eyeballs. And if
Yeah.
some reasonable percentage of those folks spoke more to the place and the ecology and the importance rather than themselves, we'd all be better off for it.
Oh, wow. That was a big, everybody. We need to remember that. We need to remember that. That was big. That is so, so true. That is so, so true. Like, what is the purpose? And I think your purpose is so clear that it's about the wild. It's about educating people and bringing love of that to other people. So that is so clear. And keeping our purpose in mind is a goal we should all have. Yeah. I'm gonna go over I see some questions in the Q&A, so I'm gonna
Oh,
read
sure.
those real quick, but you
Yeah.
do have a quote in the book that says, "Photography is humbling." And so I feel that too, and I've had, friends in the last even week that have had to take a break, from some, maybe from some disappointments or just burnt out. So can you speak on that a little bit? Why is photography humbling, and what do you do when you fail?
Keep going. Uh, yeah, photography is definitely humbling because there are lots of times that it doesn't work out and that it
Yeah,
fails with landscape photography or wildlife photography.
yeah,
And generally, I'm just so stoked being out there and having experiences that overrides that sentiment of failure.
yeah,
That being said, I can fully say how incredibly frustrated I've been at times when something didn't work out. And oh crap, the lighting wasn't right, or I had my settings wrong, I
yeah,
totally messed up. But
yeah.
the reality is, I've forgotten about that a month or two down the road.
That's
I'm not
true.
remembering that stuff. At the time, I'm livid. I'm like, oh my God, how did I screw that? I'm never going to forget this, and this is going to go down. My photography career is ruined. But I don't remember those times now. I can't remember a single one of those times
Well,
when
that's good
I've
because
been like, holy
I can
shit,
remember a
I
couple.
screwed that up. I mean, I'm sure there are loads of, but I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
remember them.
that's
They're all
good.
supplanted with other things that are more important or better.
That's
I mean,
right.
it's easy to say. I can't always do that in the time, but I just think that the experiences overall outweigh what we need um, to get out of it. And everybody, what they need to get out of it's different. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
has their own take. Burnout is totally understandable. Like
it
I
is.
can understand that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think people just run really high with passion for it. And so sometimes when that doesn't match the experience, or you spend a lot of money and you don't get the shot, or you've worked really hard to get it and it just doesn't happen, it's okay to
so the
take a break, you know?
Yeah, but
It's
the one thing
okay.
I would really add to that is preconceived notions and ideas. Like
Mm,
I can't ever imagine going into something with I'm looking for that shot. Like that's just not the way I
interesting.
approach it. Have
Hmm.
ever approached it. I can't even fathom doing that really.
Yeah,
Like I guess in some landscape situations it's a little different when I've done
yeah,
something in
yeah.
particular for one thing. So, but
Yes.
for wildlife context, not as much.
Yeah,
And I think that's an important mind shift that people need to try to take. If you're really going out for something in particular
yeah,
and that doesn't happen, how many other opportunities did just get missed out on because you're so
true.
focused on that one thing? And
Yeah,
again, I don't mean to tell people what to do because too many people in photography do that and it's really frustrating to me. But I would just generally try to open the mind up to,
yeah,
okay, that didn't work out, but boy, there's probably plenty of other
yeah,
cool opportunities if we just give ourselves the chance to pursue them.
yeah. Well, I mean, I've heard someone say like they leave and they think on their when they're going into their nature area, like what is nature going to give me today? And you're just waiting for that surprise. You're waiting for the magic and the wonder. And of course, there could be epic shots in your mind that you'd like to get someday, but that's a lot of factors that have to come together and a
Yeah.
lot of placement on yourself, like that you're going to make it happen. So just, yeah, waiting for that wonder and magic and what is the wildlife going to do today that you might see that.
Yep, and or not see,
Right.
and then not be disappointed if you spend a day and you don't see something. Like that's
Yeah.
okay. Like, and
Yeah.
part of it is just the time of this. And I know that that probably factors into it. People have maybe that limited amount of time and they need or feel like they need to maximize that and see something. And I
I
totally
think
get
that
that.
is the main problem with a lot of us is that we just don't live in the, like I live in Indiana and of course I can find things, but after a while you've seen the white-tailed deer and you've seen the squirrels and you're just
Yeah, no,
there's
that's
just
true.
different areas of the country that are richer with wildlife. So I think some people that's probably the thing, like you said, there's this pressure that we just all need to chill out, and
Yeah.
it just being in nature and be thankful and grateful, which so many people are. The joy and gratitude people feel in this field, in this genre is so refreshing to me. And like what you're saying, the joy of being out there is just, the number one thing really for
Yeah.
most people, but we're all human. We're all human, but
Yes,
you do.
absolutely. Yeah, I have so many flaws.
Me too. Me too. Okay, so Low Base says, Rob, your background as a biologist helps you anticipate animal behavior and locate wildlife. Could you describe a specific example when that training turned an ordinary photograph into a compelling image, and what resources you would recommend for photographers without formal scientific training to build the behavioral and ecological knowledge to strengthen their images? So is there a situation where your biology background strengthened the image because you knew what was going to happen? Or
I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, either just hearing animals,
Mhm.
and finding them, but like more behavioral thing, I would say that like, I mean, again, there are numerous examples, but one of the more compelling, um, uh, owls tend to get mobbed a lot by smaller birds. And
Yes.
if you know that kind of vocalization, and birds vocalize differently, but there's certain alarm calls that they're mobbing something. And um, uh, if you key into that vocalization, you can oftentimes find it. It's happened a few times when I've heard birds
Hmm.
alarm calls first have led me to find an owl.
Yes.
Um, and then also because I know where it is, because the birds are mobbing it, I can stay
Yes.
far enough away. So I'm not like walking up on it, which I'm sure happens to a lot of us where our first sighting of an owl is when you flush it, which is kind of a
No,
bummer.
yes.
And so it's great to be able to know their presence and see it from a distance, monitor it because the birds are keying me in, and
Hmm.
photograph it that way.
So how should this person educate him or
Yeah,
herself?
wow.
There's
Yeah,
so
that's
much to do then. It's probably the experience and the reading and everything.
yeah, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of it certainly comes from experience and being out there and hearing something and then finding it. Like I
Yes.
think that's a curiosity thing you were talking about earlier. Like I think it's really important. If you hear something going on, take the time to find out what it
Why?
means or
Yeah.
what's going on, why, because then you
Yeah. Yeah.
can increase your own, your own knowledge base. Resources out there. That's an interesting one. There's a really good, for instance, like a good bird app called Merlin. If you're familiar with that, and it has a wonderful voice recognition part of it so that it records the bird vocalization, helps to identify it. That can be really helpful.
Wonderful. Hmm.
But
Hmm.
in terms of like other things like how an animal wants to move across its landscape and things like that, I'll be honest, like I don't know of any resources out there you can read about that or watch it and learn that stuff. That's a great, maybe we need to do that at
Yeah,
some
that's
point.
your next book.
I don't know. It's a good question. For me, it's been experience. I
Yeah.
see something and I watch it. It's been there. I go look and see what the footprints look like, or see what's going
Yes.
on, what its tracks were, and what happened afterwards.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think repetition too in those places because you start sort of memorizing the patterns and the sounds and getting used to who lives there, you know? That's
yeah,
in my local areas. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that is the woodpecker that lives there, and,
yeah.
he's doing something here this spring," and, just start learning that.
And there's certain like the marmots and the pikas, the high elevation mammals have different vocalizations for different predators. So we'll give
Mhm.
a vocalization for a
Interesting.
raptor flying overhead. And so I don't really think about it, but I'll hear an alarm call, but I'll look up. And almost always there's a raptor flying over, or they got a
So
different one for
interesting.
ground-based predators. And so you can kind of key into that stuff too if you spend the time and are curious.
Okay. Okay, so I think Mike
Am
has
I
a
supposed to
question.
chill out and slow down?
No, not you, they're talking to
Oh,
someone else.
okay.
So Mike says, "When you're out away from
Saw that.
others." I know.
Okay.
Mike says, "When you're out away from others, do you take any special safety precautions?" That's a good, yeah. Rob, do you ever feel like you need anything for safety? Okay.
I feel far more at risk on any street in any city of this country than I do in the woods.
Yeah.
And if I
Yeah.
add the woods, I'm more worried about people than I am animals. The
Yeah.
only animals, say in Yosemite, that could even possibly be a threat are mountain lions, maybe black bears. But in all the years and all the potential
Yeah.
encounters, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And not to say that it can't ever happen, but you look at the true odds and statistics, I'm not, it just, that doesn't worry me.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What are the challenges, challenge endangered species within Yosemite? Someone wants to know. Chuck wants to know. And
What are the,
what
I'm sorry, was it
Oh,
again?
what are the endangered species within Yosemite or the challenged ones? And what groups are active bringing those challenges or the plight of those animals to light?
I'm not sure exactly the question, but it's like some of the endangered species there's the fisher,
Oh,
that's a
yes,
very
yes.
small population, the Yosemite species of great gray owl, the Yosemite toads. And I'm not gonna be able to remember all the endangered species that occur in the park. And the threats and the things that are affecting them are different for all of them. I mean, for some of the amphibians,
Mhm.
there's there's a particular kind of fungus called chytrid fungus
Mm.
that's gotten into their populations that's affected them massively. There's other ones, there's habitat, destruction. It's variable for the different reasons that
Yeah.
the species are threatened or endangered.
Mhm.
Um, the Yosemite Conservancy, the organization I mentioned earlier, is one of the organizations on the forefront of conservation of these critters, both through scientific research and understanding them better, for their conservation, but then also in true conservation measures on the other side, as well as outreach and education.
Yeah.
And then there's also lots of other, there's universities and
Yes.
other organizations are also doing research in Yosemite on lots of these different organisms that are facing threats.
Yeah, and I feel like Beth really covered a lot of that in Yosemite Wildlife. I felt
Yeah,
like I learned a lot more about what was going on and
there's a lot of work going on and a lot
yes.
of a lot of successful stories of conservation comebacks, including the peregrine falcon, which the
Yes,
numbers were way down in Yosemite and have now elevated to a very sustainable, wonderful population,
yes.
as well as some others.
Yeah, that was really interesting to me. Well, let's start the speed round. I told you we were going to do a speed round,
Oh,
and
that's
you
right.
said there's some little you have
I had
caveats for some, which is totally fine. We don't have to go speedy.
okay, hit
So,
it.
what's in your camera bag you can't do without?
So there's nothing in my camera bag I can't do
I knew
without. I
you
can
were
trade
going
it
to
out for
say that.
anything. But as a piece of gear, my boots are the most important thing, hands down for me. A good
Yeah.
pair of boots for anybody that you're happy to walk in all day long is the most critical piece of gear for
Yeah,
me.
if you don't have good boots, you're going to be miserable. Not good. Not good. What's something in your camera bag that you bought but you never use?
And there isn't. I actually had to go look in my camera bag because I was worried I didn't want to lie to you. But no, there's nothing in there that I haven't used. I don't carry a lot. I may carry kit lenses and stuff like that, but I don't
Yeah.
carry, a ton of extra accessories and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Well, I was going to say, if you know, you probably have to know exactly what's in your pack for when you're going out. You don't want extra weight, and like you had to carry a lot of extra gear just for some of the special situations that you had to photograph, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
A lot of gear.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the camera gear itself is just generally expensive. There's no such thing as lightweight camera gear with good glass, with good lenses, and then you tie them with backpacking, and you carry backpacking gear and camera gear.
Yeah.
It's just really makes for a lot of weight. Actually, and on one side note, funny side note, one of the ways I dealt with that, I made a sled to tow behind me when I ski to places
Perfect.
because it was
Perfect.
way more weight than I could carry in the winter
Yeah.
with safe camping gear and all my camera gear. So I've got a
Yeah.
sled, a pulk that I can pull behind me to get to places in the winter.
That's
So that
smart.
was the other mode of transportation I didn't mention
Yes, there's
earlier.
another one. We need to make a whole list. A whole list.
Yeah.
What's your favorite snack while editing, while driving around, while hiking around?
This is an easy one. Our homemade jerky and
Oh, nice.
roasted pumpkin seeds.
Oh, nice.
It's
That's
the latest
good.
thing I'm doing a lot
Very good.
of.
And we're in that season right now, so that's perfect.
So
That's
good, so easy to do.
yes,
Highly
they are easy to
recommended.
do. It is good. Is there a photographer, an artist, a book, an author, or something that inspires you?
Lots, but I think the most um, impactful was Franz Lanting,
Mm-hmm.
because that
Yeah,
whole thing of the Okavango Delta I mentioned
yeah,
earlier, and just generally his photography is just off the charts for so long.
yeah,
Landscapes, wildlife, conservation, wild places,
yeah,
just stunning work before a lot of the more contemporary,
yeah,
photographers that came up. He was really a pioneer, in my opinion.
yeah, that's true. Is there a moment in the wild that made you laugh? I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, I had to think about this a little bit. So I think that one would be I had my camera and lens focused on a flower that I'd found a crab spider eating a butterfly. And
Oh,
I'm focused
interesting.
on that. I'm like, wow, this is a cool natural experience. I'm photographing a spider eating a butterfly on a flower. And I'm like, this is wonderful. And then all of a sudden, another butterfly lands on top of the flower and it starts feeding on the nectar. And I'm watching the scene laughing. I literally giggled out loud. Going, are you kidding me? This can't be happening right in front of me, in real time. So that's the best I could think of for sure.
Well, it is so interesting, the little things that you're seeing and your curiosity, your here it is again, that curiosity of little things that are going on and finding those things. That's
That's Wild Kingdom. That
yes.
is like an ultimate Wild Kingdom moment right there.
I mean, they are charismatic megafauna right there.
That's right.
That's
That's
what it's
right.
like. Just a
Charismatic
megafauna.
mini fauna.
Yes, yes. Is there a wildlife experience, especially making this book and some of those images? Was there one that was more emotional than others or touched you in some way? It touched your heart?
Um, I don't know about touch my heart or emotion, but like something that I thought was just, I don't know, emotional because it was so just, I don't know, maybe cool to see is I watched um, a killdeer nest. I followed a killdeer
Mm-hmm,
nest for a
mm-hmm.
while.
Yeah,
And if you're familiar with them,
yeah,
these birds are all terrestrial. So when the eggs hatch within hours, they're running around, they're feeding for themselves. The adults never feed them.
yeah.
And so I was there on hatch day,
Oh,
and from a
wow.
distance, I kind of watched and photographed like these, little wet fuzz balls kind of come out of the eggs
The
and then
big
kind of
eyes.
stagger around a little bit. Yeah, I guess when they are, yeah. I mean,
The
when the
eyes
first
seem,
half, the eyes
yeah.
relative to the rest of their
Yeah.
head is big, and stumble around for a little bit. But then within hours, like fully be able to locomote and cruise around and eat food. And then by the end of the day, they were gone. They just took off. I never saw them again. They went with the adults and they cruised out. And it was just
Oh,
like such
wow.
a cool thing to see, that transition from an egg to a fully functional little critter in that amount of
Yeah,
time. That was kind
it
of
is
special
so
to
interesting.
observe.
I photographed a baby one time and gone back to the spot again and in the same season, and it just doesn't, has not happened again. So it's
Yeah,
like, you're
yeah,
right, they move fast. It's so
yeah,
interesting. But the
yeah.
parents were so they were protective, they were calling and stuff, but they were pecking at it a lot, and like I don't know if they were instructing it or like making it tougher or what. It was really interesting.
The young ones,
Yeah, they were, the adults were
huh.
pecking the young ones. It was so interesting. I don't know
See,
if they
there's
were just,
behavior. We need to figure out what that was
I
for.
know,
I
what was
didn't
that
see
about?
that, but that my curiosity starts spinning. And I'm like, all right, that's for a reason. I mean, animals only do things for reasons, right? So
Right,
there's
right.
something going on there. It was disciplining
Yeah,
the
that's
little
what it
guy or
seemed like,
gal.
something. Yeah, it was very, very interesting to watch. Well, what is next for you? What's going on in 2026?
Um, Happy that book's done.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you already starting another big project?
No, no, it's funny. Like I like having a project and having something I'm geared towards. So like,
Hmm.
okay, I need all these animals to go photograph. Like that's
Yeah.
cool. And I like, having that direction, but it also, I got, towards the tail end, almost obsessive where like, a bird couldn't fly by without me wondering, oh, what species is it? Do I need an image of it for the book?
Oh
And
gosh.
so it's really nice to let that go and now just be able to go out and photograph whatever I want, not have
Yeah.
anything I'm going after for. Uh, but I'm sure in a little bit of time I'll be like, yeah, let's go do another project and
Yeah,
go
another
find something I
project.
really
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
If I were to do another book project, I think I want to do something on wilderness, the importance of wilderness areas. So for instance, Yosemite Valley is 5% of all of the Yosemite National Park,
Mm-hmm.
and 80% of people go to Yosemite Valley. So
Hmm.
why are we protecting all the rest of the park? Like, why do we need open space and
Yeah.
natural areas and
Yeah.
have photography that isn't the icons of Yosemite, wilderness images of the backcountry of Yosemite, wildlife and landscapes, and tie that in with essays that talk about why we need natural areas, from the ecological roles of cleaning water and air and stuff like
Mhm.
that to the more spiritual roles for humans now, like how we
Yeah.
need nature, and even scientifically it's shown now how humans benefit from time in nature,
Absolutely.
um,
Yes.
you know, mentally as well as physically, and plants giving out phytocene that we take in and help our immunity. So
Yeah.
tying in all those different things, rationale why we need natural areas and wilderness with photography that backs it up. That
Well, I
might be.
think I just heard why you're going to be back on the podcast. You're going to have another book about
Not
wilderness.
anytime soon. Not. I hope if you're doing it for another several years, then maybe. It's like I want to take a
You
rest from
just wrote
that.
out your whole proposal. That would be good. And we need that right now. We really do need that right now as things are threatened. So that's great. And you're leading tours and you doing educational things as well.
Yep, I lead workshops in the park. I just finished a 6-day, more landscape-based workshop. We also photographed some wildlife in the park with an amazing photographer named John Barclay. He
Hmm.
does workshops all over the world.
Oh,
He and
that's
I teamed
fun.
up to do something in Yosemite. Super cool dude. We had a great time together, and just saw some amazing conditions in the park. I also lead private and small group photography workshops through a couple of lodges outside the park.
Hmm.
Um, and then I do one on the Eastern Sierra for the Mono Lake Committee
Mm.
every year.
Oh, that's nice. And you have your
Yeah. Oh,
gallery and your
I'm actually
website.
doing a really cool one. So we just launched it a couple days ago on the website. So for the Yosemite Conservancy, I'm
Hmm.
going to do a pack mule supported wilderness trip. So one of my goals, I want to get
Wow.
people out into real wilderness.
Yeah.
Um, to experience it for a period of time rather than just these little day trips in Yosemite. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I've been scheming for a while, and there's a pack station, an area I've already figured out to go to, and it's going to be both photography and an amazing naturalist from the Yosemite Conservancy. Like, I'm a good naturalist, but this guy's like next level. And
That's
so we're going to
awesome.
team up, take people out for an intensive photography, natural history, 3 days in the wilderness.
That's awesome. And people
Yeah.
can find that on your website, Rob Hirsch Photo, right?
Yeah, or
.com.
but that Yosemite, that will be there. So that has just come out. So Yosemite Conservancy is putting that stuff out. But before long, once I get on it, I'll definitely have it up on my website as well. Yeah.
And you can, people can buy prints. They can contact you through Instagram, Rob Hirsch Photo. Is it photo or
Yeah.
photo? Yeah, Rob Hirsch
Instagram is
Photo.
Rob Hirsch Photo, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I think so. I think you were pretty consistent through all your Facebook
And
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 Instagram.
how terrible my numbers are, you mean?
No, no, I meant you keep the same name throughout each thing.
Oh yeah, the same
It's not
name. Oh yeah,
different.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's not
Right.
different. So people can
Right.
find you very easily. Yes, RobbHirsch, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
I
right.
know.
That's
My
right.
parents named me Jennifer with one N. So I just finally went to Jen because I couldn't keep
Yeah.
spelling it. So I'm sure we need ROBB, everybody.
Yeah, well, that's my
So
name. I'm not like a Robert or anything else. I actually am a Rob, and that's how it is on everything. But yeah,
that
anybody's
is
on my website. I've got all the information and books. I do suggest anybody is interested in buying any of the books. I suggest getting them from the Yosemite Conservancy,
okay.
or me directly, or your local bookstore, rather
Okay.
than any of the big
Yes.
box stores. It's just great
Yes.
support for those organizations. And if you get it from me, I'm happy to write a little personal note in it to
Yes,
you.
you
I
wrote
always ask
you
for
wrote
the
to
folks to
both
do it.
on both of mine. You wrote nice notes, so that was very nice of you. Very nice of you.
I like the personal connection with folks.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's very important. And so I'll put that in the description for the our episode. I'll put all those links there for you. And so this book, it really is comprehensive and heavy and really good. And like you said, it's personal, it has heart. It's not just like a scientific read. It's very good. You can really hear her heart and see your heart in the images. And I just really appreciate you sharing all that with us and sharing this your 30 years of work coming together really in this project. So I appreciate you sharing that with all of us. And you all need to go and buy the books and buy them for people for Christmas and do a tour with Rob because he knows so much. And it really is an area that I don't hear many people in my circle talking about. So it'd be fun for people to go and explore other things.
I mean, it's definitely obviously it's not known for wildlife if that's their focus. That being said, it's epically beautiful. The landscapes are
Yes.
amazing. There's wildlife around, but there's
Yes.
also loads of places out here in the States that fit that bill. So
Yes.
it's one of
Yes.
many that we are fortunate to be able to
Yes.
explore and experience and
And
photograph. And
protect.
have
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
It's so
Hey, and
true.
thank you, Jen. I appreciate you giving this platform. Like we talked about earlier, I don't have a big social media following. I'm not comfortable in that zone. It's not what I do.
Yeah.
I have lots of
Yeah.
other ways I make this work. And so I really appreciate you opening this as a platform to be able to speak to folks and kind of get this information out there.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so glad I got to share your story, and I'm really glad you reached out to me and we got to connect, and hopefully we will in the future again. And yeah, if you ever write that book, you can come right back and
Hey,
share it with all of us.
I'll be seeing you in Yosemite
I
first.
hope so. I
All
hope
right.
so. I hope so. Well, I want to thank Robert's Camera again for supporting this podcast and supporting an old lady like me to do this. But it feels really good to have their support. And if you want to see where you can get that special discount code, that'll be in the description. Coming up, we're going to have Jim Schuler on November 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then take a little break for Thanksgiving. And then Madison Webb will be on with her beautiful photography December 2nd. And then if you'd like to follow the podcast, you can follow me at Jen L. Ritchie on Instagram, or the podcast at Wildlife Conversations Podcast. It's very long. And if you want to find us on YouTube, it's under Jen Ritchie Photography. And again, Rob, I want to thank all of you for being here and supporting Rob. And I want to thank you too, Rob. And it's just been a pleasure to get to know you and hopefully see each other somewhere in the field.
Likewise, let's have our paths cross again. That'd
That's
be
right.
wonderful.
Thanks so much. Thank you,
Great.
everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.